The great economic rivalry of our time is not a simple contest with a clear winner. It is a complex and enduring dance between two titans, the United States, Europe. This is not a zero-sum game played with military force, but a competition of ideas, rules, and influence that shapes the global marketplace. For decades, these two powers have been partners, allies, and rivals, often all at once. Their relationship defines the economic order, influencing everything from the price of gasoline in Ohio to the privacy settings on a smartphone in Germany. To ask who is winning is to ask the wrong question. The more important inquiry is to understand the nature of this competition, its shifting dynamics. The context of this rivalry has changed dramatically over time. In the aftermath of World War II, a devastated Europe looked to the United States for reconstruction and security. Today, the European Union stands as a formidable economic bloc in its own right, a regulatory superpower with a single market larger than the American population. Yet, the United States retains an unparalleled dynamism in technology and finance, driven by a culture of relentless innovation and risk-taking. As we stand here in early 2026, the global landscape is fraught with new challenges, from geopolitical instability to the urgent demands of a green energy transition, adding fresh layers of complexity to this transatlantic relationship. This essay will explore the central facets of this economic competition. We will examine the core metrics of economic might, such as GDP and trade flows, but also delve into the more subtle arenas of technological leadership and regulatory philosophy. At first glance, the economic comparison between the United States and the European Union seems to be a tale of two equals. The United States, as a single nation, boasts the world's largest economy with a gross domestic product above $25 trillion. This scale gives it enormous economic gravity. In contrast, the European Union is a collection of 27 member states. When combined, the EU's GDP is remarkably close to the United States' often trading places, depending on exchange rates and growth cycles. This parity is the starting point for their relationship. Neither can ignore the other. Their deep interdependence is most visible in trade, the largest and most complex relationship in the world. Each year, goods and services worth over $1 trillion cross the Atlantic. Boeing, Pfizer, Volkswagen, Airbus European companies are not just exporters, but major local employers in the U.S. This web of trade creates a strong incentive to cooperate. A slowdown in one economy is almost immediately felt in the other. Policymakers are forced to consider transatlantic stability, not just national interest. But deep ties don't eliminate friction. Recent years brought disputes over subsidies for aircraft manufacturers, tariffs on steel, tariffs on aluminum. The U.S. has accused Europe of unfair practices. Europe has accused the U.S. of protectionism. Those disputes reveal a deeper tension. Both sides use trade policy as a lever to protect industries and jobs, even if it risks the broader partnership. The arena where the differing economic philosophies of the United States and Europe are most starkly revealed is in technology and the digital economy. The United States is the undisputed home of the world's tech giants: Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. They dominate the global digital landscape, creating immense wealth and projecting American influence. This dominance is not accidental. It is the product of a culture that rewards risk, a deep pool of venture capital, world-leading research universities. The result is an ecosystem that fosters rapid innovation and allows companies to scale to global size with breathtaking speed, a feat few European firms have managed to replicate. In response, Europe has carved out a different role, the world's leading technology regulator. Lacking homegrown giants, the EU sets the rules of the road for the digital world. The General Data Protection Regulation became a global standard for data privacy. Companies had to change how they handle user information. More recently, the Digital Services Act, the Digital Markets Act. The EU aims to rein in large online platforms, demanding transparency and interoperability. This is the Brussels effect, European rules becoming the de facto global norm. This divergence creates a fundamental tension. From a US perspective, European rules look like digital protectionism. They can hamstring American companies and create space for local competitors. Compliance costs are significant and sometimes seen as stifling innovation and the free flow of data. American tech executives often say they're being unfairly targeted. European champions face fewer penalties. This generates diplomatic and economic friction, with billions in fines and market access at stake. From a European viewpoint, the rules defend core values: privacy, consumer rights, fair competition. Europeans worry about concentration of power in a few private companies. They believe governments must protect citizens from digital harms. This approach isn't anti-innovation. It prioritizes social outcomes and market fairness. The philosophical divide, permissionless innovation, versus the precautionary principle. This divide defines their 21st century economic rivalry. The notion of a purely free market is a textbook ideal. In reality, both the United States and Europe actively use state power to shape their economies, One of the most contentious tools is the use of subsidies. Both governments provide financial support to industries they deem strategically important. For decades, the dispute over subsidies to Boeing Airbus became a symbol of this competition, leading to years of litigation at the World Trade Organization. Today, this battle has shifted to new frontiers, particularly in the race for green technology. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, for example, offers massive subsidies for electric vehicles, renewable energy, but many of its benefits are tied to domestic manufacturing, a move Europe has criticized as protectionist. It also threatens to distort global trade, penalize countries without deep pockets, and undermine the principles of fair competition that both sides claim to uphold. Tariffs are another powerful weapon in the state's arsenal. A tariff is simply a tax on imported goods, designed to make foreign products more expensive and thus protect local producers. The U.S. has shown a greater willingness in recent years to use tariffs unilaterally as a tool of national policy, most notably with the steel-aluminum tariffs imposed on national security grounds. These moves often provoke retaliatory tariffs from the EU on iconic American products like motorcycles, bourbon. This tit-for-tat escalation hurts businesses on both sides, disrupts supply chains, and ultimately raises prices for consumers. The effects of these policies are felt directly by workers and businesses. For an American steelworker, a tariff might mean job security, as foreign competition is reduced. However, for an American automaker that uses that steel, it means higher costs, or a decision to move production elsewhere. Similarly, a European subsidy for a new battery factory might create thousands of local jobs, but it could also be seen as an unfair advantage by a U.S. competitor. Navigating this complex interplay of state intervention and market forces is one of the central challenges for policymakers in both Washington and Brussels. Despite their economic rivalry, the United States and Europe are bound together by a dense network of shared interests and institutions. The most important of these is the NATO alliance, the cornerstone of transatlantic security for over 75 years. This military partnership creates a fundamental alignment of geopolitical interests, forcing cooperation even when economic disputes flare up. The need to present a united front against strategic adversaries, such as Russia or an increasingly assertive China, often overrides commercial disagreements. This security interdependence provides a crucial backstop, preventing economic competition from spiraling into outright hostility. This cooperation extends deep into the financial and diplomatic realms. When the global financial system teetered on the brink of collapse in 2008, the U.S. Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank coordinated their actions to provide liquidity and restore confidence. They worked together in international bodies like the G7 and the International Monetary Fund to manage global economic challenges. More recently, they have collaborated closely on imposing economic sanctions against countries like Russia. using their combined economic weight as a powerful tool of foreign policy. Disagreements over policies toward Iran or China have highlighted these differences, with Europe often preferring diplomacy and engagement, where the US favors a more confrontational approach. The rise of China has added another layer of complexity to this dynamic. Both the US and Europe view China as a systemic rival, but they do not always agree on how to respond. The US has generally adopted a more hawkish stance, focusing on decoupling and technological containment. Many in Europe, particularly in its industrial heartland like Germany, are more hesitant, given their deep economic ties to the Chinese market. Finding a common transatlantic strategy on China, one that balances economic interests with security concerns, remains one of the most significant challenges facing the partnership. This balancing act will test the limits of their cooperation in the years ahead, Beyond the headline numbers of GDP and trade, the economic health of a society is ultimately measured by the well-being of its people. Here, the US and Europe present two very different social models. The American model prioritizes flexibility and dynamism. Its labor market makes it relatively easy to hire and fire workers, which can contribute to lower unemployment rates and faster job creation during upswings. This flexibility fuels a culture of entrepreneurship, where individuals are encouraged to take risks for great rewards. The American dream is built on that promise of upward mobility, though the reality has become more challenging for many. Europe, by contrast, generally offers a more robust social safety net. Its labor markets are often more rigid, with stronger protections against dismissal. Citizens benefit from universal health care. Citizens benefit from more generous unemployment benefits. Citizens benefit from longer paid vacations. This model prioritizes stability and social cohesion over pure economic efficiency. While this can sometimes lead to higher structural unemployment and slower job growth, it also results in lower income inequality and lower poverty compared to the United States. The choices between a high-wire act with greater risks and rewards and a sturdier safety net that offers more security. A critical long-term challenge facing Europe is its demographic trend. Many European countries have aging populations and low birth rates, which threatens future growth and the sustainability of welfare states. A shrinking workforce means fewer people to support a growing number of retirees. The United States faces demographic challenges too, but it has historically benefited from higher rates of immigration, which have replenished its workforce and added economic dynamism. How Europe manages this demographic transition will determine its long-term vitality. When we look at living standards, the picture is nuanced. On average, Americans have higher disposable incomes and larger homes. Consumption levels are higher. Europeans often report higher life satisfaction, work fewer hours, and enjoy greater economic security. They don't face the risk of financial ruin from a medical emergency. Their children can attend university at little to no cost. There is no simple answer as to which system is better. It depends entirely on what one values. Higher potential income consumer choice, greater stability leisure public services. The economic relationship between the United States and Europe is not a simple contest with a scoreboard. It is a multifaceted rivalry between partners. They compete fiercely in some areas, technology, industrial policy. They cooperate closely in others, global security, finance. The U.S. brings dynamism, scale, unparalleled innovation, particularly in the digital realm. Europe counters with regulatory power, social stability, a deep industrial base. Neither side holds all the cards. Their respective advantages create a balance that has defined the global economic order for decades. The greatest risks come from a drift towards zero-sum thinking. A spiral of protectionist tariff subsidies would harm both economies and weaken the rules-based international system they built together. It would raise prices for consumers, disrupt investment, and make it harder to tackle climate change, global health crises. The temptation to prioritize short-term national advantage over long-term collective stability is ever present. It requires statesmanship on both sides to resist it. The world is poorer and more dangerous when America and Europe are at odds. The opportunities, however, are immense. When the US and Europe align, they form an economic bloc with unmatched power to set global standards. Their cooperation can drive innovation in green energy, create fair rules for the digital economy, and promote a more stable and prosperous world. Their combined market represents nearly 1 billion consumers with enormous purchasing power. That creates a powerful incentive for businesses to innovate and grow. The future of the transatlantic relationship depends on managing differences constructively while focusing on vast areas of common interest. Ultimately, the United States and Europe are destined to be competitors and collaborators. Their rivalry is structural, born of different economic models and sheer size, but their partnership is essential, rooted in shared values and common threats. The calm way forward is not to seek victory over the other. It is to establish clear, fair rules that allow healthy competition while reinforcing their alliance. This managed rivalry, a competition between friends, is the best path to ensuring mutual prosperity and stability in a turbulent world. This rivalry is not about declaring a victor, but about appreciating the delicate balance of competition and cooperation that will define our shared future. We need to understand the fundamental structures that underpin this rivalry. By comparing their approaches to industry-state intervention and global cooperation, it is essential for the economic realities. I am Ray Montoya, and this is Economics.